Hey, this is Davin with Hagerty on Redline Rebuild Series, and if you've been watching, we were doing this T5 swap on our 46 Ford pickup truck that is over my head here. One of the last things to do on any transmission swap is usually to have your drive shaft either lengthened or shortened. In our case, we had to have it all brand new one made, but I thought it might be interesting to give you a little bit of behind the scenes. Typically when you take a drive shaft to have it cut down or have one remade, usually don't get to go behind the curtain. So we went over to our local shop, Valley Truck Parts, and Dan walked us through the process, which was pretty cool. So before we go over to Valley Truck, I need to be able to give them a measurement of how long I need the drive shaft to be because, well, otherwise they would be completely guessing. So the key is you take your yoke, you pull it out from the tail shaft of your transmission, and then you simply measure the center of the yoke, where the U-joint's at, to the back where the yoke is on the axle. Now, my rockauto.com tip of the day is you cannot do this measurement when it's up in the air and the suspension is not holding the weight of the vehicle, because as you set this down, your rear suspension is going to change the position of where this yoke is going to be at. So you need to take the measurement with it loaded and then pulled back. That's my rockauto.com tip of the day. Okay, it's a lot easier when you're underneath it, standing. Okay, so to compare, when it was up in the air and the wheels were drooping, the drive shaft would measure 48 3/4. Now when it's sitting down, as I said, it's going to change. The axle, when it sits onto the leaf springs, actually pushes rearward, and it has grown by 1/2 inch. So that distance now is 49 1/4. So my center line from the front yoke to the rear yoke is 49 1/4. So that is the number I'll use with the drive for the drive shaft to be cut to.
Down here, there's just a little bit of bounce at this end where those ones were welded.
Here's our original shaft that was, well, even labeled still, the 46 Ford pickup. And we're on the balancing machine, and everything runs out quite well overall. But even this little bit of change that occurred at some point in time, where the rings have been welded in. They're on all 4 of them here. And it was just a matter of it holding that retention because basically that groove is so wore out. But that little bit of welding is throwing this end of the shaft off. So it's got just a little bit of wobble in it. And what would happen is that'll take that vibrational transfer up through your transmission, basically wipe out bearings, so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, we're gonna have a brand new shaft completely, and we're gonna have, that will give us new ends, new yokes, and a new tube. Correct, Dan?
Yep.
All right. So from there, that's the end of my experience with this. I know what the balancing end is, but Dan's gonna walk us through the whole process as far as start to finish, and then kick us out of the door. So, Dan?
Yeah, no, as far as drive shafts go, when we get them in, we break them down as far as parts, pieces, what we'll need. We identify U-joint series, tubing diameter, length. You guys had predetermined your length, measured it off the truck, so we know as far as what we need center on them. So yeah, we've got everything's going to be brand new slip yoke, new U-joints, new tube yokes. Yeah, I can go ahead and get started.
Now I know there's a little more that goes into the tubing diameter than just grabbing whatever tube you have, so.
Right, yeah, no, we usually cut and measure. As far as your old shaft, we wanted to save a sample so we could show it spinning.
Right.
But if we're shortening a shaft or anything like that, we'll cut it, we'll mic down, measure your wall diameter.
Right.
Based on application, your drag shafts are going to run a little heavier tube wall. As far as like a commuter car, it's not going to run anything that heavy, so
right.
Like 83 or 55 wall.
Yeah, because I know if you get too small a diameter, as a for instance,
yep.
and really long.
So it'll turn into a jump rope.
It starts to be a noodle. Yep, exactly. So.
Cool. 3.5. I mean, I'd run that in just about anything from a truck down to a race car as far as that goes. So this would be everything you need out of it.
Right.
What you do.
Right. Okay. Cool.
This helps us center our yokes on our drive shaft. If they're out of phase, you're going to get a vibration from that, and that's something you'll be chasing.
Right.
Not able to take out if it's welded wrong.
Yep.
A lot of people, when they DIY them, they do not check their phasing, and that's...
Exactly. So when you mean phase, you're talking about the loops, if you will.
Yep.
Are square, right? They're in line.
With each other.
Yep. Okay. I have to tell you, this is more in depth than I thought it was going to be.
Oh yeah, when I first started here, I was like, oh, we're just welding it together and going.
Yeah,
like,
sweet.
Oh, no,
Whip them in.
this thing.
Yeah, they never push perfectly.
No, and you can sit there with the Dremel machine out the inside,
right,
as close as you can. Now's the part where being picky can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Just the center finding gauge here. But I like to get that as close to absolutely zero as I can. I've seen them come from factory as much as 3 degrees off.
Yeah. That's the downside of production.
Yeah. A little bit of a gap just so we can allow for adjustments. And our welder is actually hooked up to the rotation on the end of that, where it'll cut on and off at a certain point in time.
Okay.
Rotation. But the goal here is to be as close to zero as possible. We're at about 1,000 down there.
Okay, now that the drive shaft is made, it still needs to be final balanced. Very similar to a tire or balancing your crankshaft in the engine. So Dan will rotate this around, the machine tells him where it needs to have a little bit of weight added, and he'll tack weld in some weights. And just like that, Dan made us a beautiful drive shaft. Nice work.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice work.
Should do you some justice there.
Yeah. Time to get back to the shop and get her slipped in the 46. Ta-da-da. Well, as you can see, our drive shaft is in. Our truck is ready for the road. And if you haven't watched the whole episodes, roll on back and check them out. I think they're pretty cool. And of course, get out in the shop, get your work done, because if your work's not done, you can't take this for a ride. See ya. That's pretty. It's pretty nice.